I think it was a really good point brought up by Witter before, that we did have the extra Dragon Monsters that were picked up, but let's put that aside for the moment. For this time, it's for real. We're heading into round number 3 again. This is where we really expect to see separation coming out. While we have got a lot of places available in the Global Championships, we are only going to leave today with one EMEA regional champion.
And also one player that will probably cry in his sleep tonight, because 8th place, making it to day 3 is already a massive celebration for everyone involved, because you're almost guaranteed to be either in Worlds or the Western LCQ next weekend. But whoever gets 8th is a tough pill to swallow. It was Lelouch last set who did not have a good day 3. In this case now, the complete opposite. Lelouch has started off very, very hot in this day 3 in set 7. And hopefully he can replicate that day 6. Someone that's also starting hot in this game though. Leona 2 in the shop. Going to buy it once this round concludes, seeing what kind of gold or items he gets from this PB round.
Yeah, we're definitely keeping a close eye out for players who are playing very strong early on. I think now it's a big reminder. Pirate Skate, certainly one of my favorite versions of the Mirage. You can get, of course, we know what it's traditionally being used for. You throw in that as just another income source. We've got Astral, we've got Lagoon, we've got an inflated economy in the set overall. But, 1 or 2 gold per round off of this Mirage is really hard to turn down.
You have the Ezreal, you have the Twitch now as well. The BF Sword and the Rod still pretty open to AD or AP at this point for Dazik, and Ezreal, a good carry for most of these items regardless. I think Mortog heard us. He heard that I was saying, maybe Mortog, it's time to give us a Pirate Screen. It's been too long. Not once in this tournament on the broadcasted games. Finally, we do get it. Maybe for Dazik, not ideal though. If he was looking to go for a win streak stage 2, he would like to have that combat strength instead of the Pirate Screen that essentially only gives you econ. But we'll see how he balances out. And if he can even get the Mirage online, has to find a natural Yone in the shop first.
Well, it's good news about the Mirage. It's Pirates, but it's good news about Nomsy as well. As it will be Mage. Let's get our first augments in and see if our players decide their direction early.
Talk about Wi-Fi, the resident Dragon Master player in NA. Would love to see Eye of the Storm here. Would obviously just try and force that Lee Sin carry that we saw in GSC3 as well. Dazik, I think, is not a man that takes those risks as often. I think he wants consistent results when it comes to just an important day 3, and it will be better together as I expected, because it's one of the augments that just works with one of the best comps in the game right now, the Graves Seraphine comps. He has to be careful though. Salvi and Brix love Graves in this tournament. They've played it so many different times. If he goes, Solo joins the party.
Well, it's better together.
Exactly.
Why not have as many of them as you want?
It's not just one player getting it, it's 2, of course. They're going to be holding hands, hopefully for a person 2nd, but maybe for a 7th and an 8th, depending when they get that Graves 2 upgrade.
What we do have, which of course is kind of a throwback from day 1 of the competition, we've got some Guardians entering the mix here for Solo Kasang. We have seen how incredibly impressive that can be, but we've also seen that a distinct countermeasure exists. Nyla, if she's in the game, ruins Guardians' days.
There's actually 3 better together. We're looking at it now. Salvi, one of the players that I mentioned, loves getting this augment, loves playing the comp that this augment leads you into. And 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 of these players are going to have to get some bad news when it comes to stage 4, because it's all about that natural roll down. Brix, we saw yesterday, was able to just get Graves 2 right after Wolves, somehow, miraculously, with a gold collector as well, and then became a Graves 3. But for most of these players, getting a 2-star forecast is difficult. It's one of the harder things to play around in terms of stabilizing in stage 4 if you are going for a forecast carry as kind of the main unit in your comp. But when you're contested 2 different ways, or 3 different ways in this case, it's just sometimes impossible as well.
Do want to point out before the augments drop down, we have got Lelouch coming in there with a cluttered mind. That is an augment we've seen make a massive impact. And if it is, as you say, we're seeing all of these potential Graves Seraphine players being slowed down. Maybe an augment that speeds up your leveling will really overtake them.
And for every other player that's in this lobby, that's scouting, that's looking around, having 3 other players going for better together is good news, because you want 3 players to shoot themselves in the foot, to contest each other, to not be able to hit their comps, because that opens up more comps that are going to be uncontested for you to play. So we'll see what the other 5 players go for, and if one of these 3 better together players decides to not play Seraphine Graves and goes for maybe something like a Rengar carry game instead that can utilize that Zeke's Herald somewhat well as well, like the very beginning of Dark Flight when it started off in set 7.5.
Yes, you're definitely the better style of player if you're willing to admit when the situation doesn't
There's
call
a
for it.
Rengar.
Yeah. You've got a temptation here, Brix. Of course, we know Brix has performed spectacularly well across time, though Brix has had a little bit more variability in their play. A massive amount of first-place games, but also matched by some disappointing games as well.
Suffering from success, so many different upgrades that don't really gel perfectly together. You have the Rengar, but then you also have the upgrades on the Nasus and on the Talia. Lots of level 5s here at 2-3 players playing high tempo, trying to get a win streak going. Or in the case of the Luce, trying to maybe break this Luce streak right now, but has the early Shimmer skill. Not going to be Goldmancer's Staff, but Gambler's Blade still one of the better ones to have, especially when you have this Volibear, one of the key units to not only win you rounds, but give you gold as well, all throughout the early stages of the game.
Yeah, we've seen Volibear performing admirably as an item carrier. In fact, a very, very strong item carrier to take you through the mid-game. And, of course, benefiting greatly from that attack speed. We have got a little report, of course, about who is up in top place. Brix and Salvi so far unbeaten. We have got Solo, who is holding on to a lot of item components, though. They are down towards the bottom of the table.
Swords and belts, incredibly important in this first carousel. 3 players with better together. You want to build those Zeeks. Lelouch takes the only sword here, maybe because he wants it for himself, maybe because he wants to take it away from other players. We'll never find out.
Well, why not both?
Why not both? Sometimes that is the key answer. You win, everyone else loses. That's how TFT sometimes works. Everyone here in this lobby is not Lelouch's friends. It's a 1v7 essentially.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things, I think one of those big realizations that kind of comes in as you play more and more TFT, is you're not just playing your own game, you are absolutely playing, you know, everybody else's game as well. But having the mental capacity to track what other people are doing and, you know, make the right decisions for you, which are also the worst decision for your opponents, is so crucial.
I love this spot for Salvi, utilizing better together right now with Yone. Also a comp that sometimes can utilize the Zeeks, especially for the extra attack speed. When you build the Rage Blade, it goes off of that big, just base stat number on the Yone. So that might be the angle here for Salvi. Has Pirate Screed online as well, and strong enough to win streak without essentially getting stats from the Mirage trait. So this could be a very good spot for Salvi to be able to win streak and get gold in the process.
Yeah, we certainly know that Yone and Olaf are very strong pairing together. Buff them both up, and you're generally going to be laughing. Worth noting as well, it's very easy to miss that Olaf will gain that extra attack speed from the AP. So it's going to be hitting it like a truck. The shields are holding ground right now, and this does mean that Salvi will be the only undefeated player coming close to Crux.
Yeah, Brix is streak going to end here in the fourth round of this stage 2. Salvi uncontested as the only win streaker here, but looking on the other end of the spectrum, the current 1 and 2 in the standings, 7th and 8th in the HP for this game 3.
Yeah, Lelouch and Kirko, they're absolutely riding high. We have got some more Yones creeping in. Now, of course, we do know if we were looking to stay in Yone longer term, we would be hoping to find some way to give that Yone, or ideally the Olaf as well, some extra range, and that's not currently on the cards right now.
Yeah, not quite a possibility. We're going to have to see if there's any carousels either from the Augment, with something like an Earth, for example, or from the next carousel instead. You want to get that spatula, try and get the emblem online. It transforms Yone into a completely different unit. It makes him so much better because, as we've mentioned so many times throughout this tournament, he's able to stay out of melee range. And when you have a Shio Yu, 1-2 punching you to death, it's so important to keep your distance and attack from further away, as almost as if you were a swift shot unit instead.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to solve the whole melee problem where you put yourself in danger, is just stay well out of it. Double, we are seeing, with the thrill of the hunt, and the Kaiser, unfortunately, though, we're not going to do a whole ton for you if you're not getting the kills.
Thrill, one of the better augments in Stage 2, but also kind of a high variance. If everything works out and your unit gets the perfect resets at the perfect time, it can essentially 1v5 in some cases. But in this case, it didn't quite pan out for Double 61. Daysik now also win streaking into Krugs, though. But the gold generation plus the 5 win streak puts Salvi in such a good spot to top 4. I mean, it's early to say, but really, if you've played enough TFT, you understand when a start of the game feels as good as this, it's really hard to bot for, especially in the case of Salvi, that is such a fantastic player.
Yeah, again, this is the reason why I love the Pirate Screed so much, because you're actually, you know, a lot of times, especially with Astral, for instance, you're playing units which are not necessarily that strong in order to get economy. You know, the Leona and the Yone together, of course we know, particularly in the Yone side of things, are very strong units. You're really not giving up anywhere near as much as you would be to make sure you've got the gold you need.
Can you make 40? I think you can if you want to slow Seraphine as well, but do you want to? That's the decision point here for Salvi. If he wants to make that 40 gold threshold, get that extra piece of gold to get to 50 even quicker, and just snowball this HP lead into potentially a Yone 3-star, but has a chance for Kiana 2 instead.
Yeah, keeping the option open, so presumably, you know, this is kind of our big question for this lobby with the 3 better together players. Who is going to flinch first and definitively go away from that style of play? All right, so we've got our 2-star coming in. Salvi is going to keep up that win streak. Daysik, is a little bit behind, but has a win streak of their own. Coco at the very bottom, a lot of gold, a lot of loss streak.
The key factor for leveling to 6 at 3-1 instead of 3-2, which is the natural integer to do it, is if you want to defend a streak, if you have something to fight for, and in this case, Salvi does. He's on a 5 win streak, wants to keep this win streak going, getting that extra win streak gold as he goes along. And the other second thing is you have to have a good unit to put in that makes a difference. And Kiana 2-star is that unit. You naturaled it in the shop with 2 more Kianas coming in. That's going to be another easy win for Salvi. If he's able to win streak the entirety of the stage 3, I see him guaranteeing a top 4 and fighting his way back up in the standings, currently sitting at 7th place after those 2 games.
So I'm going to ask you a question which kind of like goes outside of this game slightly. If you're in the position that Salvi, Double, Solo are you just looking for the slow climb up through consistent play, or are you trying to course correct as fast as possible and get in some some riskier but more rewarding first and seconds?
I think it's a bit overvalued how much you can shift your playstyle in TFT in this set especially. I think with Mercenaries especially, in last set you can play more first or 8th. In this case, not so much. But something more to talk about here is Prismatic once again being the augment choice. Think Fast obviously is no longer an option because Daisy has spent half of his time just staring at the screen thinking what is the best option. Maybe checking some stats on the side possibly as well. But Electric Shark 3 is fantastic. You're defending a win streak right now. It gives you immediate board strength. Going to be Radiant Relics instead. We'll see what the pickup is going to be here. Has a lot of good AD options especially, but not much for AP depending on what angle he's trying to go for. It might just be an item for the Graves if he wants to go. Oh, not the item I expected. Bulwark's Oath instead picked up here for Dasik.
Well, I suppose that will be enhancing the value of the shields they've got there. The effective HP pushing up, but they've got to deal with Salvi right now, and we'll see if that Bulwark will protect them. Or on Salvi's side of things, they've gone for a new recruit, so helping to push the board, immediate board strength right through and keep that win streak going.
That's one more thing to talk about when you are defending a win streak. When you're offered an augment at stage streak 2, you can't pick an econ augment. You have to pick something that, again, propels you higher above other players and allows you to defend that win streak further. And that's the case for both of these win streaking players, both Dasik and Salvi. In the case of Salvi, he's just in a better position though. Yone 2-star as well, has a new recruit, has Better Together, and has a very, very strong board coming into the stage 3.
I want to take a chance to look at Coco if we can, because they are very far below everybody else, with I suppose the exception of a Double 61, who's also fairly low. Note we are in a Protector of the Cosmos game for Coco, so they're going to be getting a lot of shields on the Astrals, but they are married to Astral for the rest of the game.
Cybernetic uplink as well. Not too far into the 3 stars for the Lux, for example, for the Varus. Obviously just one singular copy, but still has 50 gold, so hasn't really rolled down at all yet. Going to go more of a slow roll route. Looking for maybe a tier to get this this spatula off of the Vlad, depending if he got up the carousel or placed it himself. I guess for now, just getting the cybernetic uplink value. It is prismatic. You want to try and squeeze out as much mana generation as many units as possible at this point in the game.
Yeah, certainly once you've got that Lux reroll, you're feeling very happy about keeping her safe with that extra bit of shielding. She said once the Mage Spatula comes in, we will be seeing Varus locking down a lot of boards. But, of course, Coco, while they've dropped below 50, they are now out of their loss streak. They have to start getting wins in, and they will do so courtesy of the player just above them, Double 61.
High roller. Not high rolling just yet. 50 HP, 7th in the HP standings, but looking to use those dice, still on the bench, still deciding what route he's going to take. We saw some very crazy high roller games in the NA, actually. There was a Nyla 3 that was picked up by Dishtop, I believe it was, in day 1 with good odds, but still, he got like 4 off of 1 dice on Diana. It was absolutely crazy to see the VOD. In this case, that might be the angle Double 61's going for. Usually, High Roller is given as kind of a tempo option in stage 2, but sometimes if you wait long enough, you can go for just a win condition, like a Nyla 3, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that does make these augment system very interesting, is when you can see an augment having a completely different effect at different parts of the game. But let's just take again a stock of the game overall. So we have got 3 players, Coco, Double, and Noel, all in the 50s or thereabouts. Lelouch just above, then Bricks and Solo feeling pretty happy. Salvi remains completely undefeated through stage 2, through most of stage 3. Dasik was threatening to come back in, but hasn't managed to keep a win streak of their own going.
3 win streak now for Solo Gosang, doing his best. Darkest cosplay. Darkest, the player that in game, or in day 1 rather, picked up Guardian Crown, Guardian Crest in both games 1 and 2 of that very first day of this tournament. Solo Gosang trying to go that same route, going for that 6th Guardian, recently buffed by Mortdog to be just so much more tanky. And in this case, now going to be a very stable mid game for Solo, especially with that Volibear giving the extra gold as well we're seeing there off the Gambler's Blade.
And of course, we know, based on what Darkest has taught us in the first 2 games of the competition, the end game for this one does tend to be our friend Aurelian Sol. Yeah, we are visiting back with another old friend, though. It is good old Yone. Hopefully going to have a better showing this time around.
Solgasang was a player that could not really make it work in the last game, now facing against it and saying, wait a minute, my Yone was not doing this kind of stuff. Kills the Volibear there, trying to kill the Nasus Sphere. The Dawn comes in, but not quite enough. The Zac, we saw him. He was fantastic in yesterday, but not quite tanky enough. Not a 3-star, doesn't have the 3 tank items just yet.
I will keep an eye out on how things develop through there. Solo, I think it's still relatively okay with how things are right now. We should see the damage chart there with Yone doing the lion's share of the work by quite a long way, much more dispersed on Solo's side of things. We'll keep an eye out for them. We have got some upgrades coming in as well. Coco getting that 2-star Lux. I think that might be a second 2-star, if I don't miss my guess. The Luch also grabbing an upgrade on their Jax. So we're creeping forward, coming close to the end of Stage 3.
Lelouch has Dragon Soul as his prismatic augment. I hadn't noticed that until now. I was talking about Darkflight Crown being one of the highest stat placement augments in the game in this current patch 12.21, coming into GM+, so the highest of the highest ranks with the best players. Dragon Soul, also the case. It's one of the very, very strongest augments because it elevates the best comp in the game to even higher standards.
Yeah, and especially, we talked about before that we have the Clutter Mind as a way to move you up levels faster. What a great combination with the ability to put together the most absurd late game board.
Clutter Mind is essentially econ. The way it works out, it gives you levels quicker, so essentially it's giving you gold that you don't have to spend on leveling up in that case. And Dragon Souls gives you, well, a win condition, but also board strength, at least when you get to that point where you have the dragons online. So Lelouch, a player that I definitely would like to check out at this point in the game. Not quite any dragons just yet, so essentially a dead augment for now, but has very good board strength, is able to have a high tempo board with that Volibear 2, with all the itemization, the Gambler's Blade, the BT, and the Titan's Resolve. And now, with 72 gold at level 7 already, and with the Clutter Mind, 13 XP points already onto that level 8. That means that I expect a fairly early level 9 with the HP he has now still. Somewhere around the end of stage 4, he might be going to level 9, and that could spell disaster for everyone else in this lobby if he finds those dragons.
I do like this kind of combination we've got set up here. Because of going into the Shimmer Scale, Lelouch, who of course needs to preserve that goal for the late game, is getting directly rewarded for doing so by having this incredibly strong Volibear. So we're up at level 8 with 50 gold in the bank and the beginnings of a significant win streak. A lot of the board isn't quite what we'd like it to be, but that makes sense for Lelouch. They're not looking to build up the 2 stars. They're looking to try and stamp on the accelerator and get these dragons going.
When it comes to stats in this current prismatic lobby that we are in, Lelouch with Dragon Soul among the top 5 best prismatic augments in the game right now. And Cybernetic Uplink as well for Lekoko. 2 really dangerous players that if they can assemble the boards they want to with dragons mostly, I think in both cases, especially Aoshin and Asol, they could become incredibly scary in the late game.
All right, we'll check up with Noel, who of course doesn't quite have the full strength of the Yone online as of yet. And it will be Lelouch getting another W in here. I mean, of course, amazing news for them in that they're going to be in a situation where not only are they building towards a much stronger board than they have right now, but they're beating people with the placeholder comp they've got already.
61 now has 2 Graves on the bench. The Nyla whipping herself around with the Slipstream all throughout the board. But look at his HP counterfeit. 21 for 61, a player we talked about. He had to dig himself out of the hole. Right now, he has 1 foot back into that hole, needs to climb out.
Oh, boy. So,
better together again. No,
yes,
no.
We need more of it.
These players are all, it's like a 4-way handshake. I'm not even sure what the logistics are here.
So what I'm assuming here is the players, there's a bit of a misunderstanding. They thought better together, the more people who have it, the better the augment is. That's just logical.
I think these players at this level maybe have enough reading comprehension to understand that might not be the case, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, kind of. Maybe it is, a full set of misreading this augment. And on the crucial moment on Game 3 of Day 3, they actually noticed that no, that's not the case.
I just want to point out here, as we see our final augments coming in, the Lelouch, we know they are the apocalypse coming for the rest of the lobby. They grab themselves a Jeweled Lotus, another way to further cap out the world's most ridiculous board that is on the horizon. It's coming for this whole lobby.
The Nyla also coming for this lobby as well. The Yone you thought was looking so strong. Noel, someone that favors playing at Yone, but all of a sudden Nyla jumps onto you and the Yone is dead. Once the damage disappears, the tanks that don't really do much damage, the Wukong poking people with the stick instead of crushing them from nice up and close, that's going to be it for Noel here. Another big loss. Someone that does favor playing Yone. We saw it all throughout days 1 and 2. In this case, not working out for him too much. And we saw with Zologasang in the last game as well. So maybe players thinking, is this augment worth taking? Is scope weapons as good as we thought in this current meta?
Well, I think maybe we're seeing some of this, with the emergence, because previously, certainly in the EMEA region, we were not seeing anywhere near as much Lagoon being played. I think it's coming as a reaction that we're getting a lot more Nyla in the mix to help deal with all these problems. We have got Double trying to cash out as best they can. They're running very low on resources. And what's that on their bench? Could it be not gold, but dice?
And, I don't want to say I'm the Nostradamus of this current cast.
I'll say it for you.
But this is the good thing about seeing other regions and just seeing a lot of TFT. You get to see situations that don't happen very often. And I think it might be repeated here for Double 61. Has 4 copies of Nyla right now, has a Diana on the bench, and has the dice still available. It could be a Nyla 3 game that he's going to go for with the better together here. And if he does, and if he's able to get that going, we've seen it so many times as a secondary carry for Lagoon, but also just as a main carry. Nyla can get things done.
So we are seeing something a little bit different here. We've got the Dragons emerging for Dasik. So we've got the scope weapons. I think we might be seeing it, while we haven't seen our players necessarily making some huge leaps out with the better together, perhaps finding other uses for the scope weapons rather than going for a Yonicum, which we've already established is not working so well in this lobby.
The HP leaders in Stage 3. Salvi's still at the top, 74 HP for him. Dasik has fallen down to 45. A Graves with a glove component on the carousel, going to be very appealing for whoever is trying to go for that Seraphine Graves comp. In this case, Double 61 gets the chain vest instead, and we'll see what these players decide for. We'll see who is trying to go for that Graves. It looks like no one just yet. Players might have been scared. They saw 4 players getting better together. They said, I'm not going to go for Graves. I'm going to try and play a little bit more flex, go in a different route instead to not get contested. And as we're hearing from our, not production, but actually Wida, letting us know that loaded dice percentage on Diana for Nyla is 31.25%. I knew it was somewhere on the range, but good to have the accurate number to understand exactly what Double 61 wants to do here. He's rolling gold still, trying to find maybe another natural copy, and then going to go for that Nyla push, but maybe just doesn't need it yet. Thinks he's trying.
Oh, come on!
Okay, it's time. No? Yes, that's a 3-star Nyla. 6 HP. Can he come back into this game? He was waiting for the best moment to do it. He needed to have enough gold to even buy the units if he found them in the shop, and that has now been the case. Can this Nyla 3 do it by herself? Noel finds the Braum 3 as well, the tank to maybe match the damage from Double 61, but we'll see if Double can do it. 6 HP means only 1 fight. If he loses, he's out of this game.
We do know Nyla is the solution to a lot of problems here. The Lelouch, I think, is going to be rolling their eyes at this situation as Nyla dances between. And of course, she doesn't just get a reset from the shields, but reset from the kills, which means she multiplies damage like crazy. The Lelouch, who we thought was going to have the most obscene board known to creation, might have just been put on a timer.
And this is bad news, especially for Lelouch. The players that were trying to greed out to play a slow Stage 4, saying, I have money, I have HP to work with, I'm going to have very good losses in the Stage 4. No one is that strong. This is terrible news because every fight that Double 61 wins, he's going to win with a lot of units left over. That means everyone's going to be taking 10 to 15 HP for any loss in Stage 4, especially going into Stage 5 with more damage per unit. And that means that you can't greed out. You can't go fast 9. You can't play for the 4-dragon board as easily.
Well, there we go. The clarion call has been answered. 6 dragon that take to the field. Lelouch says, you know what? Enough messing around. It's time to get things online. Of course, these bonus stats to all the dragons will help prop up the fact that we are seeing a fair amount of basic, normal 2-star dragons in the field. We'll see how they do up against Salvi. Of course, no longer on that ludicrously long winning streak, but still a very dangerous opponent.
That being said, the stats did get nerfed. Assembling this board earlier when it was first released and announced by Mortalk was essentially an insta-win. There was really almost no counterplay. It was 40 of every single stat for every single dragon alongside the 6 dragon, all the different other dragon bonuses. In this case now it got nerfed down to, I believe it was 30 stats for everyone, which is now maybe there is some counterplay involved, and I think, oh, it's going to be Edge of Night, Jeweled, Gauntlet, and Hextech Gunblade. You have items on the not-so-great carries here. The Zippy, not the ideal dragon, but if you want to get a nice reward in the chat, AMD, our partnership for this tournament, can help you out. Do not spam the command, though. Just read. Use your reading comprehension like players have done with Better Together, and don't spam like you have been doing all tournament. It is not necessary, believe me.
Yes, Just to be completely crystal clear, you do not enter the competition by typing the command AMD in the chat. That just gives you the link to the place that you do. But either way around it, the Lelouch is feeling like a competition winner themselves. They got some absurd items from that Treasure Dragon, and now they can bring in the big guns.
I love this from Double 61. We're looking at his HP. He was at 6 before. He's at 10 now. What does this mean, Counterfeit? Can you solve the puzzle?
Don't ask me to do massive broadcast.
He doesn't have metabolic, so I guess Soraka must be in his comp, putting him in a spot where maybe if he loses the fight somehow, he's not going to be an insta-loss. So I like this from Double 61. He's saying, I'm incredibly strong. I can slot in the Soraka and maybe have that safety net where if I lose a fight, it won't be the end of the day.
Well, Dasik will be getting into Dragon Town as well. Of course, they don't have a Dragon Soul of their own. Interesting choice up against Solo, who is also making good on our promise from before. The Protectors being paired with the Aurelion Soul makes it very hard to stop that Aurelion Soul from scaling it through the round and providing infinite damage. I love the combination as well with the Archangel Staff and the Ascension. That is inevitability in a comp.
The cast does not come through from Solga Sang's Aoshin, though, and that's going to be the win potentially here for Dasik, who needed to win this to stay alive at this point. He's at 19 HP, a dangerous spot to be, and as you mentioned, especially against the high-tempo players in this lobby, like Double 61 with that Nyla 3. The second cast comes in to clean up on Solga Sang's board, and incredibly close, actually, in this lobby from second place down to Double 61, who's climbing back up with that Soraka. It's only a 20 HP gap, rather.
You know what I mean? I just want to kind of expand a little bit on what we were seeing from before as, Coco will be going bananas. They've got themselves their Astrals, of course.
That's big.
From the beginning of the game. So yes, we've got a Mage Astral, Varus 3. We've got ourselves a Sylas propping up the front line as well. We've presumably got pretty much the best we can hope for, given that we're level 7 and we've managed to get all this together. We're probably not seeing a Zoe 2 this game.
Deja vu kicking in, though. Coco and Double 61 once again 7th and 8th as they were at the very, I think around this stage in game 1. Coco climbed out of that to get some more points in the standings, but up now against Salvi, up now against Graves. Hannah Justice and Rageblade. The Rageblade currently stacking, getting faster and faster attack speed for this Graves, but the Lux, the burst damage coming through, not quite enough just yet. Lots of shielding on most of these units thanks to the comp from Salvi, but the Lux, one more cast here, might hit the Graves with a stun from the Varus as well. Yep, that's going to be the kill on the Graves, and with Graves out of the way, Counterfeit, the rest of the units not really doing as much as Graves can, not having that much of an impact on the board. The Zeri is good, but she's a support unit in that comp.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit worried about that one going south, as Dasik has officially been our first elimination here in our third game of the day. At least Dasik wasn't in quite as terrible a position as they could have been otherwise. So they managed to moderate their points. They were in third with 10 points, but you have to imagine they're going to get leapfrogged by quite a few people right now.
Wondering what Brix's board looks like, considering he's at 9 HP now, and he's someone that also has to try and win out here. He did end up going for the Grave Seraphine comp with that Better Together augment that we talked about, but hasn't quite found the same success that maybe he's found in other games, like we saw yesterday in Day 2, able to win many lobbies with this comp, and facing off against Coco. This could be an elimination match for both of these players. Rocket Propelled Fist once again for Coco, someone that had it already in the last day of TFT we saw yesterday. The Lux untouched in that backline, just spamming her Cosmic Flares, trying to get these burst kills. The Archangel slowly stacking up, 60 now. The AP rising as the fight goes longer and longer, which is what this Astral Comp does so well, especially the Vlad with the Transfusion, healing up in that front line, staying alive, tanking up more and more damage as Lux continues stacking the Archangels. The final amount of burst comes through, and once again, the win against the Grave Seraphine.
Brix is out of there, which is not a situation which we'll be able to report on very often at all. But I think you're right, we've got a composition from the Graves setup, which is not, it's not massive bursts, it's damage over time. Let's get into some real action though. We have got another Guardian Spatula in the mix, because of course you always need more Guardians in life. Solo will grab that one.
It could be an upgrade as well. Lelouch, if he's actually playing for the Aoshin, the Runaan's not ideal, but if he has 3 items already on this Aoshin and is actually playing Aoshin on his Dragon board, that could be the 2-star if he did not have it already. And that is why that's going to be the case. The Aoshin comes through, 2-star as well. So that carousel favored some players more than others. If you're not playing for a Dragon board, you just sell the Dragon and move on. But for Lelouch, it is a massive spike. Yeah, we know Lelouch has got this incredible setup. Bear in mind, though, nearly everybody in the lobby is on 20 HP and below. Given the fact we are in Dragon territory, as you mentioned before, we're doing double damage from each of these units when the round ends. So one big L here is almost certainly going to kill a player. Gunblade and Archangel's 2 great items on Lelouch's Aoshin. The Lightning Rain will be able to heal up the tanks that are still left alive, but it's only a Terra 1 for now, not as tanky as this Dragon can be later into the game. We're seeing it here immediately deleted by the Graves. The Graves stacking 2 different Rage Blades, but the 1v1 versus Xiaoyu, usually not a great fight for that Graves, but finally squeezes his way out of that. Xiaoyu now targets someone else, but the Aoshin cast comes through, and you don't even need it, really. Almost the rest of the Dragons cleaned up the job already. Salvi down to 8 HP, and double 61 from 8th to 1st. This is almost a script that has been written here. He rises from the bottom, from the depths of the lobby, all the way up to the top, thanks to that Soraka and the Nyla 3.
Well, opportunity is knocking here for Double. All they need to do is steer the course. Solo goes down to 1, along with Salvi on 8. Coco just above Noel as well. We are so low here, but Double, of course, at the top, as you said, with a win streak running. You've got to be feeling pretty good if you're backing Double right now. But we've got so much volatility here. As you mentioned, we have got a Guardian coming in. So we've got Guardian 6, and of course, Aurelion Sol, the 1 point of failure for the composition, has now got a Guardian Spatula of his own, which means he's going to be ridiculously hard to kill early.
This is a strong board. This is not a weak board by any margin, but this lobby, once again, is a high-roll lobby thanks to that Prismatic Augment. Everyone is looking so strong, and you're up against the strongest player now on the field. The Shroud comes through straight up the middle from that Seraphine, but Nyla is on your Acel already. The Slipstream, the damage, the 1-2 punch. Acel deleted. Bard, great, but that Tempered Fate, no one is falling up. There's no damage to multiply off of that. Fantastic ult from the Bard, and Nyla can do whatever she wants, jumping around, dancing in joy and happiness and celebration as Double 61 gets yet another decisive win in this Stage 5.
I think we're going to have a fairly abrupt end to the game because we've got so many players close to elimination. Solo out in 7th. Salvi, from having a massive win streak before, just could not keep up with the pace of the lobby, out in 5th. We do see a last-second fight. This is a little reminiscent of what we saw before.
Oh, Braum.
Is that a Pantheon or a Braum? It's hard to tell under all that tankiness.
I want to see some Giga Chads in the chat because that Braum deserves it. Takes on a Dragon 1v1, gets the shield up in the air, and bashes the Aoshin's head in. That's a very graphic image. I'm sorry for those at home.
Well, I mean, it's a very similar items we saw from the Pantheon before, which did hold on. Maybe we are starting to see that, as part of a well-rounded late-game composition, having a absurdly strong and tanky unit that can actually absorb this dragon damage could make a big difference than we realized.
Morello not ideal here, but interesting how Noel's able to navigate this Scope Weapons 3 game into a top 4, where Solo Gasang was not able to do the same in that game too. I'm not sure what was different. Maybe the tank, maybe the Braum is a little bit better here with the items, with the Anima Visage and the Dragon Claw. In this lobby specifically, we see so much AP, the Astrals, the Dragons, and that, we saw it there. The Braum able to stand toe-to-toe with these Dragons and not die, essentially, after a full Lightning Rain cast. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with the Unbreakable Shield. Just be able to cut out a percentage of the damage, especially at 3-star. It is ridiculous. Lelouch, though, we know, we gave them the Omen of the Apocalypse, but apparently it's taking a little bit longer to arrive than we thought. It's still staying alive for the time being. Let's see who they go up against. It's Double 61, which will be knocking one of the big dragons up into the air. We know Nyla is amazing at dealing with the backline, but we have got the Archangels ticking through. Lelouch still has to get those cards coming through. There's a stun, but it will not stop the ticking time bomb. Nyla is, of course, ridiculously strong. The ult is coming. I swear, eventually it's coming. We'll be dropping down the firepower, but Nyla, I think, is just too damn strong. The second cast is coming. Will it land? We have got the Hextech Gunblade, but it doesn't go off in time.
The cleanup there, and then Nyla keeping things interesting, not finding the right targets at the start of that fight, but still finds the final kill. Lelouch taken down, or not taken down just yet. I think it's a delay maybe in the hit here, or was fighting a ghost in that case, but Double 61 now win streaking counterfeit. We saw him at 6 HP. We saw him in, deep. We said it. He had 1 foot in the hole once again. But again, with the loaded dice, maybe he actually watched the NA regionals as well. He found out the tech of going for the Diana, of getting that Nyla 3 early on, and managed to stabilize in such a magnificent way.
Do not be too concerned. I think we're having a little bit of a... so we're playing on the tournament round rather than the regular client. And sometimes some weird things do happen. Hopefully everything is fine on Double 61 then. It's just our spectator view that's giving us some unusual items there. I think Double would have called for a pause if it was anything to be concerned about. Up against the power of the Astral, so we're going to see if we reset things.
Lelouch taken down, Noel taken down. Now we're seeing the refreshes there in the HP totals. It's going to be Double 61 versus Lekoko, France, who we saw 7th and 8th
Yeah.
in Stage 4. They bounced back up to 1st and 2nd. Two veteran players that know how to stay under control when there is a high-pressure situation like this one and manage to just rack up these points. Whoever wins here, it's a win for both of them. They needed the points to go back up. Lekoko may be in a better position, but overall, Double 61, especially with a Nyla 3, with a fantastic usage of High Roller as a prismatic augment, able to win this fight and able to win this Game 3 and bounce back up in the standings. Not to first place, but to at least maybe that top 5 position, which you need to make it to Worlds.
So we can't have a 4 French top finisher, but maybe we can have a 2 French top finisher.
Don't jinx them. Don't jinx them,
I'm
Peter.
going to jinx everybody I like all the time. Double 61 from the very bottom of the table strikes back, joins the country button.